Welcome to EBS Service Hands-on Demo. We want to see how to use EBS volume with our EC2 instance. The first thing we need to do is find out the availability zone or AZ of our running instance. Then we create the EBS volume of the size we desire. In this case, we're going to create a 10 gigabyte of EBS volume. Then we'll figure out how to attach that EBS volume to our instance. And after we attach it, we'll log into the instance and then we'll scan or look for that new volume that we just attached. We then create a file system on top of the volume. We'll figure out how to mount the volume on your operating system, and then how to start using that volume. Finally, we'll figure out how to create an EBS snapshot of the volume so that our data gets backed up. And then when we're done with the volume, we'll figure out how to unmount that volume, how to detach that volume. Remember, when we detach that volume, that EBS volume is still in our account. Then it can be attached to another running instance if we choose to. Then when we are completely want to get rid of that EBS volume, we will figure out how to delete that EBS volume. Welcome back. As you can see, I have one EC2 instance in the US West 2 region, that's the Oregon region. If I click on the details of that instance, we can see the availability zone that it's provisioned under, the AMI that we use to create that instance, and we are interested in the volumes, the EBS volumes the instance has. Right now, as you can see, it has only one EBS volume, that's the root volume or the operating system volume, and the name of that volume is dev/dev/sda1. And I want to click on the EBS section here on the left hand side, click on the volumes, and right now, as you can see, it has only 8 gigabytes of disk. That's for the operating system. And the important thing we want to look in this screen is the state of that EBS volume. So whenever you see this green dot, that means it's in use right now. So I want to create a new volume, and I can keep it a general purpose SSD, but I want a 10 gigabyte of volume, and I want to make sure the availability zone for that volume is also West 2A. If I have an existing snapshot, I can use it. Since I don't have it, I'm going to create a blank disk. Okay, the next section, as soon as this state becomes available, I can select that volume. I can go to this actions menu on the top, and I can say attach this volume. So it's going to prompt me for which instance, the instance ID number that I want this volume attached to. If I click on that box, it's going to show me all the instances I'm running. Since there's only one instance at this moment, I'm going to select that instance, and it's going to assign a Unix device ID. Right now it shows /dev/sdf. So I'm going to keep that default. I'm going to hit attach. So after a couple of seconds, you see the change in state from available to in use. That means this volume is being attached to my EC2 instance. So now if I go back to the instance detail, select that instance, you will see that new device being attached. The new device is available for that instance, and the name of the device is /dev/sdf. So now I'm going to log into the EC2 instance. Just grab the host name of that instance. And since this is the first time I'm logging in, it's going to prompt me if I want to trust this server. I'm going to say yes. So once I'm logged into the instance, I need to be a root to do all the commands, the following commands. So I'm just going to get me a root shell. Now I can look at the list of devices that are attached to the instance. So the first device I see is /devxvda, which is that operating system volume of that 8 gigabytes volume that we saw earlier. This next disk is the /dev/xvdf. That's the 10 gigabyte of volume that I just created. Format this disk or create a new file system on top of it. So I'm going to run this command makefs.ext4, and I had to give the name of the device xvdf. It's going to, within a couple of seconds, it's going to create a file system for me. And now I need to create a mount point for that volume. So I'm just going to create a directory called /data on the root volume, and I'm going to mount the new device /xvdf on /data. And now that the disk is mounted, I'm just going to ask it to display all the disks that are used by the system by running this command called df-h-t-ext4. Now I'm being displayed both the disk, the original operating system disk that was provisioned to the instance, and the new volume we just created, xvdf. So the next thing I can do is I can cd into that directory /data and start copying files, or I can create files here. So this is how I start using the file systems right now. Now let's go back to the AWS console and click on the volume section to see both the volumes that the instance has. We can select the volume that we just created, the new EBS volume we created, click on the Actions tab menu again, and select Create Snapshots. Now let's go back to the AWS console and look at the list of volumes again. So these are the two volumes that our instance has, the 10 gigabyte volume that we just created and the original 8 gigabyte for the operating system itself. I'm going to select the new EBS volume, go to the Actions menu and say Create Snapshot. It's going to ask me for a name of a snapshot. We can choose anything we want here. I'm just going to say my test snapshot here. But typically we want to name it for the name of the project or the date that you took the snapshot. You can optionally give a description of the snapshot, and then when you hit create, it's going to take a couple of minutes and create a snapshot. And if you want to look at the snapshots or all the snapshots that you have, you can click on the snapshot link on the left hand side of the menu. And as you can see, the snapshot has been completed, the name of the snapshot, the size of the snapshot, and then it tells you the volume that snapshot was taken off, the date the snapshot was created, and the capacity of the snapshot. And the progress, if it's still taking the snapshot, this progress will be less than 100%. Then you can click on this permissions tab and look at which accounts have access to this snapshot. Right now, nobody outside of this account has access to this snapshot. If you want to change that, you can click on the edit link here, and you can add another AWS account, or if you choose to, you can make that snapshot public. So we're just going to cancel out of this and the tag that you created originally for the snapshot. So the next thing we want to do is we want to see how we can unmount this volume. So go back to the instance itself. We have to get out of the disk directory that we used. I'm just going to run this Linux command /umount/data because that was our file system, that was our mount point. When you run that command, the disk is gone from your system. So to verify, you can run that command again, df-h-t-ext4, and as you can see, it just has the operating system disk. Now if I go back to the volumes, as far as AWS is concerned, that EBS volume is still attached. Your operating system, your instance is not using it, but from the AWS point of view, it is allocated. So you can select that EBS volume, go to the Actions menu again and detach it. And then it's asked for a confirmation, and within a couple of minutes, the status changes to in use to available in this column. You can refresh it a couple of times. So now it became available. So now you have two options. You can select it and present it to the same EC2 instance if you want, or to another EC2 instance if you choose to. Right now I'm just going to delete that instance. Right now I'm just going to delete that EBS volume because I'm done with it. So I can go ahead and delete that EBS volume, and then the status changes to deleted, and then it just goes away from your account after a few minutes. So in summary, in this hands-on demo, we created an EBS volume of 10 gigabyte. We attached it to an EC2 instance that we had running. We logged into the EC2 instance. We looked at the EBS volume, and then we figured out how to create a new file system on that EBS volume. Then we mounted that volume, and we started using that volume by creating some dummy files. Then we learned how to take a snapshot of the EBS volume, And when we're done using that EBS volume on that instance, we learned how to unmount that volume, detach that volume, and then finally release that volume completely to Amazon.